Let's get into the latest Celtics news and rumors here on Chat Sports. How about a Harrison Barnes trade to the Boston Celtics? This one continues to circulate, Chase. Get us caught up on the latest here.
And it's picking up heat over the last couple of days. According to Brian Scalabrine, who used to play for the Celtics, he works for NBC Sports Boston now, is the color commentator on those broadcasts. He said the Celtics want Harrison Barnes, and Harrison Barnes brings a lot of value to a playoff team because he is having a career year with Sacramento currently. This is a guy who has a bunch of playoff experience, won a Larry O.B. with the Golden State Warriors in 2015. In my opinion, I actually think Harrison Barnes is actually underrated.
Yeah.
A lot of people remember his playoff collapse with the Warriors after they had already won a championship, but he was a good player for Golden State, went to Dallas, was a great contributor there, goes to Sacramento. He's under an affordable contract for what he brings to the table. And as we bring up his numbers, Harrison Barnes, as I mentioned, having a fantastic season, averaging a little less than 17 points per game. He can play defense. He's a 3-and-D guy. He's still really athletic at the age of 28 and shooting 49% from the floor. And as I mentioned, he can stretch the floor as well. He's knocking down threes at a 38% clip, Harrison. So this is a really good player who could really help a playoff contender.
This guy is quietly having just a really great season.
Yes.
I mean, it's because he's in Sacramento. No one watches the Kings, which is unfortunate for him because he's been outstanding, but he's been linked to several teams, and recently the Celtics have been the team that have popped up, which makes sense because they've got that trade exception from Gordon Hayward there of $28.5 million, so they can absorb Harrison Barnes, which is, I think he's $23 million per year right now with the Sacramento Kings, and there you go. You've got your number 3 type of guy next to Jalen Brown and Jayson Tatum. I just ask, and I just wonder that, is this the move for Boston? Because I think Barnes is a guy that can fit in anywhere. He can play the 2, 3, or 4. He can defend multiple spots. He knows exactly who he is in terms of he's not going to force anything. He plays within the flow of an offense, but your 2 best players are already wings, which is a point I know you wanted to bring up.
Yeah, in the current day of the NBA, Harrison Barnes is a really valuable player because he can play and defend multiple positions, and he brings you a lot offensively. But when you look at the Celtics' needs right now, it is not a swingman because they have Jayson Tatum and they have Jalen Brown, 2 superstars who helped bring Boston to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. So when I look at the Celtics' needs this year, it is a front court player. It's a forward or a center because for me, Tristan Thompson, Daniel Tice, Robert Williams, even though he's come on the scene and is having a solid year, they're going to get bullied by a guy like Joel Embiid. They can't contend and compete with a player of that caliber. So at the forward and center spots, Boston is lacking, and that's where I think they need an upgrade. You have Jayson Tatum and Jalen Brown. These guys are unbelievable players. So yeah, while you talk about Harrison Barnes being a potential fit, he could fit in with the Celtics because he can fit in anywhere, as you mentioned. That was a great point that you made, Harrison, but it's not one of the Celtics' big needs.
Yeah, and I just, to build on that point, I don't like, what is Barnes at? I think you get better certainly, but do you get better at a spot where you need to get better? Not really. He's your 3rd best wing at that point. So I guess you can start Brown at the 2, Tatum at the 3, and Barnes at the stretch 4, but I'll also make note, when Barnes played stretch 4 in Dallas, that didn't work out so well because he's a good defender, not the most physical defender if he's having to go up against true 4s in the NBA. So we'll let you guys answer. Should the Celtics trade for Harrison Barnes? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I'm not saying don't explore it. I just don't think I would go in this direction. So go ahead and get your votes in. Today's show, we've got some St. Patty's Day NBA-themed gear for you guys. The day is almost here. March 17th is St. Patrick's Day, and if you want to represent your team while wearing some green gear, go to this link on screen. It's chatsports.com/NBA Green. All 30 NBA teams, shirts, socks, hats, long sleeves, short sleeves, some hoodies, all types of gear is available at chatsports.com/NBA Green. Don't get pinched on St. Patrick's Day. Go ahead and represent your favorite team. And I'll throw this out there, too. If you're a Celtics fan, you can wear this stuff all year long. It just fits in right with the Celtics culture there. So we'll put that link in the comments. We'll put it in the description. St. Patty's Day is almost here. Chatsports.com/NBA Green. Go ahead and represent your favorite team before the holiday on March 17th. Let's talk P.J. Tucker now. Similar boat as LaMarcus Aldridge. The Rockets and P.J. Tucker have come to an agreement that he's not going to play in Houston anymore. He approached them and basically said, look, I'm out. We've lost 14 games in a row or whatever it is. It makes sense for me to move on. And ultimately, it makes sense for the Rockets to move on and go ahead and let go of the 35-year-old veteran at this point.
He was a healthy scratch on Thursday, and I actually feel bad for Stephen Silas.
Yes.
Because this guy has worked so hard his entire career to finally land a head coaching gig, and he thinks that when he is named head coach of the Houston Rockets that he's going to take over a team with some star power. Russell Westbrook, even though I'm not a huge fan of his at this point in his career, still productive player. James Harden, they brought in DeMarcus Cousins, of course Eric Gordon, P.J. Tucker, and you're thinking, okay, this could be a pretty solid playoff team.
Yep.
And then what happens? James Harden says, I want out. Russell Westbrook gets traded. The Rockets fall apart. They bring in John Wall. He's just been okay. Now P.J. Tucker wants out. It's kind of unfortunate for Stephen Silas that he finally got a gig like this, and it just hasn't worked out.
And I think the frustration was pretty felt in this quote. We'll just read it for you guys real quick from Silas. We're going to try and figure something out that works for him and works for us as far as him not being on the team anymore. I was under the assumption that he was going to play tonight, and he didn't play. That was disappointing. He decided that he was just not really with it, and we decided that he was just, he decided that he was not really with it, and we decided that that's a good idea. Let's move on. So Silas there basically saying like, okay, you want out, we'll just dump you, because I think Silas is trying to instill his culture in Houston of saying, okay, like, you don't want to be here, we'll get you out. We got to rebuild, and that's really my main point here, Chase, is that it is time for the Houston Rockets to just bite the bullet and rebuild. It is time to go in a new direction. You lost Harden. Okay, it's time to go. Oh, you offer Oladipo an extension for some reason. He says no. All the signs are pointing to commit to the future.
Yeah.
Like, this era is over. I know, Daryl Morey, while he was there, was super aggressive, and obviously their owner, Tillman Fertitta, he wants to win a championship, but this is the reality of professional sports. The windows open and close, and they close very quickly like they have here on the Houston Rockets. Now, I want to ask you this. Tucker moving forward. Okay, he'll get traded, he'll get bought out. We'll see what happens. What are some teams that you think can make sense? I think the Lakers are also a fit for Tucker because they've been linked to P.J. Tucker.
The Lakers, when it comes to the trade deadline and these 2 weeks leading up to it, when it comes to the buyout market, the Lakers are going to be in play for a lot of veteran players. And as we've talked about on this show before, anytime a seasoned vet hits the open market, LeBron James, the general manager, is going to inquire about his services. But let's pull up this list of potential P.J. Tucker destinations. The Boston Celtics are at the top of the list. Brooklyn Nets are also there as well, but them signing Blake Griffin might take them out of the sweepstakes for P.J. Tucker. And then there are three more teams that we want to get to. Teams like the Golden State Warriors, who are at the bottom of the Western Conference playoff standings. They need depth, they need toughness, and they need some front court physicality, so you have to put the Warriors into the equation. And as we mentioned, the Los Angeles Lakers. And then, of course, a team like the Milwaukee Bucks could also be in play for P.J. Tucker as well. So, L.A. has reached out for P.J. Tucker, and they are definitely interested in him, according to reports.
Bucks, by the way.
And if you want to play small ball offense, defense in the playoffs, and you want to put P.J. Tucker in at the 5, as we know last year when the Houston Rockets went with that infamous small ball lineup, it was P.J. Tucker at the center spot. So he has experience playing the 4 and the 5. He can hit some threes as well, and L.A. seems to be a prime team that P.J. Tucker could hop on board with.
Look, Tucker's not a stats guy, never has been, and especially isn't at this point in his career. If you're bringing him in, you're bringing him in for defensive versatility and toughness come playoff time. It's as simple as that, and I think that has a lot of value for veteran basketball teams or for young teams who need more veterans on their roster. Some of those teams we showed you fit both of those categories. So who will trade for P.J. Tucker? Go ahead and let us know on this one where you guys think the veteran from Houston will end up.